The sound of a pen scratching against paper echoed loudly in Park Yin's ears, as if every stroke added more weight to her already burdened shoulders. The second year of high school was an endless battlefield, especially under the relentless barrage of assignments and practice tests from the teachers. This math homework is twisting my brain into knots, Yin groaned, resting her head on the cafeteria table. Beside her, Yuna, her best friend since their first year, nodded in agreement with an equally tired expression. And don't forget the history test tomorrow. I seriously need a break, Yuna chimed in. How about you sleep over at my place this weekend? We can binge watch movies, play games, anything that has nothing to do with formulas or dates. Yin's eyes lit up. That's a brilliant idea. I'm so sick of textbooks. Deal. I'll let my parents know later, Yuna said, a wide smile spreading across her face. The weekend arrived, bringing with it the promise of freedom from school's shackles. Yin walked cheerfully toward Yuna's house, a backpack filled with spare clothes and her favorite snacks slung over her shoulder. The cool spring air caressed her skin, as if welcoming her to this short-lived paradise. As the doorbell rang, the front door swung open, and Yuna greeted her with a tight hug. Yin, finally, come in. I've got everything ready. Yin laughed and followed Yuna into the warm and cozy house. The scent of home-cooked food instantly greeted her senses. They both walked into the living room, and there, sitting on the couch, was a man in a casual t-shirt and jeans, deeply engrossed in a book. Yin's heart fluttered strangely. The man had slightly messy jet black hair, framing a handsome face with a strong jawline and sharp eyes. Yuna, who's that? Yin whispered, tugging lightly at her friend's sleeve. Yuna turned and smiled brightly. Oh, that's my cousin, brother Jungkook. He's from Bizen, but he goes to college in Seoul, so for now, he's staying here. All night, Yin's thoughts were disturbed by Jungkook's presence. Every now and then, she stole glances at him. He seemed more focused on small talk with Yuna's parents or simply absorbed in his tablet while sitting at the dining table. Yin eventually learned that Jungkook was a fourth-year business student, 22 years old. A 5-year age gap didn't seem like much in her 17-year-old mind. When the two girls were finally in Yuna's room, getting ready for their movie marathon, Yin couldn't hold back. Jungkook is really handsome, isn't he? Yuna gave her a teasing look. I know, right? A lot of girls at his campus are crazy about him. Then her expression turned serious. But Yin, I have to warn you, he has his own rules. What kind of rules? Yin asked, intrigued. He doesn't like dating underage girls. He says that too big of an age gap is just too troublesome. He wants someone mature, someone he can have deep conversations with. Yuna added, he always says he'll only date someone who's already in college. Her words hit Yin like frost on a blooming flower. The sweet fantasy that had just begun to bloom suddenly wilted. But her attraction to Jungkook was too strong to ignore. Wild thoughts began to dance in her mind. 19 years old, a first-year college student. She started weaving a plan. What if I say I'm 19? Yin mumbled quietly, more to herself than to Yuna. Yuna's eyes widened. Yin, don't be crazy. That won't work. And why would you even think that? Are you planning to lie to him? Yin remained silent, though deep down, she knew the idea had already started to take root. She had to try. She couldn't let this chance slip away. That morning, the scent of toasted bread and warm coffee filled Yuna's kitchen. Yin sat on a high stool near the dining table, gently swinging her legs as she stared at her phone screen. But her mind wasn't really on it. She kept glancing toward the stairs, waiting for the person who had been occupying her thoughts all morning. Yin was sitting alone. Yuna was still tidying up her bedroom, and her mother, after preparing breakfast for them, had gone out to shop. Yuna's father hadn't come out of his room yet. And finally, footsteps echoed from the stairs. Jungkook appeared wearing a loose gray t-shirt and black training pants, his hair still a little messy, as if he had just woken up. Yin immediately sat up straighter, her heart racing. As Jungkook opened the fridge and grabbed a bottle of water, Yin gathered her courage. Good morning, she greeted first, trying to sound casual. Jungkook turned to her, slightly surprised, but then smiled warmly. Oh, good morning. I'm Yin, she quickly added before her courage faded. Yuna's close friend. We didn't really get to introduce ourselves last night. Jungkook nodded while taking a sip of his water. Jungkook, Yuna's cousin. After a few seconds of silence, Yin spoke again, this time with a more confident tone. This was it, the crucial moment. She straightened up and looked at Jungkook with a confidence she had to force. I used to be Yuna's senior back in school. We were in the same art club, but now I'm in college, first year. Jungkook raised an eyebrow slightly. Oh, you're in college already? Yes, I'm a freshman, 19 years old, Yin replied quickly, her smile slightly trembling. Back then, I was Yuna's senior in the art club. She was in the grade below me, and she used to talk to me a lot about school. It was a clean lie, remarkably so, since Yuna did know that Yin was good at painting, and they often worked on art assignments together. She just hoped Yuna wouldn't correct her in front of Jungkook. Jungkook nodded, seemingly convinced. I see. No wonder you are so close. I didn't know Yuna had an upperclassman like you. He smiled. So, where do you go to college? Yin had already prepared her answer. I go to Hanbit University. I'm majoring in visual communication design. Hanbit was a well-known university, and the major sounded convincing. Wow, that's a great school. And your major sounds interesting, Jungkook complimented. It must be fun studying there. Yeah, Yin agreed, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and guilt. Her first lie had worked. Meanwhile, light footsteps descended the stairs. Yuna, who had just finished tidying her room, was about to greet Yin when she overheard Jungkook and Yin talking in the kitchen. She paused on the last step, quietly listening in. When her ears caught the words, I'm a freshman, 19 years old, her eyes widened. What? She thought, nearly dropping her phone. Did Yin just say she's in college? 19? She knew very well that wasn't true. Yin was her classmate, both of them still in their second year of high school. But when she saw Yin's hopeful expression and Jungkook's warm smile of interest, Yuna could only take a deep breath and choose silence. She stepped into the kitchen as if she hadn't heard anything. Morning, Yuna greeted, smiling at both of them. Morning, Yuna, Jungkook replied casually. Yin quickly turned to Yuna, briefly panicked, but relaxed when her friend simply smiled as if nothing was wrong. The three of them had breakfast together with light conversation. But only Yin and Yuna knew that a heavy secret had been etched into that morning, one only they shared. After that day, Yin and Jungkook started interacting more frequently. They had exchanged numbers, and both began to often invite each other to meet up in the late afternoon or evening at a cafe. Especially Jungkook, who increasingly asked Yin to join him for coffee, usually when he needed a break from his college assignments. Yin, come have coffee with me for a bit, yeah? I need a break from typing this report, Jungkook wrote in a message. And Yin, who was studying in her room at the time, immediately grabbed her jacket and bag. They talked about many things, college, design, campus life, and Yin always responded confidently, as if she truly were a freshman majoring in visual communication design. She read tons of articles on color theory, typography, and even the history of contemporary art, just to keep up with Jungkook's conversations. Every time they met, Yin knew she was walking a tightrope of lies. One misstep, and everything could fall apart. But despite it all, her heart was becoming harder to control. Jungkook's smile, the warmth in his eyes, and the little ways he showed he cared made all those lies feel worth it. The sky was overcast that afternoon, and a soft breeze drifted in through the classroom windows, making the curtains sway gently. Inside the quiet room, students were spending their break time opening lunchboxes, chatting, or simply resting their heads on their desks. But at the middle seat near the window, Yin stood out. She sat hugging her phone, a small smile she couldn't hide gracing her face. Her thumbs danced quickly over the screen, then she flipped her phone over and let out a soft laugh. From the corner of her eye, Yuna watched it all with a whirlwind of emotions inside her. She had seen Yin like this many times, too happy for something so fragile, something built on lies. Yin, Yuna whispered softly after glancing around to make sure no one was paying attention. She leaned her body closer to her best friend. How long are you going to keep pretending like this? Yin didn't answer right away. She bit her lip, then peeked at her phone screen again. There was a reply from Jungkook. Let's go to that new art gallery tonight, yeah? I'll pick you up at 7. Her smile grew again. Until he likes me, Yuna, she replied quietly but firmly, her gaze distant, as if looking at a hope shimmering far away. Yuna fell silent at that answer. Yin's tone was too serious, too reckless. Yuna let out a deep sigh and gripped her pen tightly. Her chest felt tight. She knew this wasn't just about hiding her age or pretending to be a college student. This was about someone falling too deep, with no safety net. Yuna looked at Yin with deep concern, but she also knew no words would change Yin's mind now. The only thing she could do was stay by her side, just in case everything came crashing down. I just hope, if the truth ever comes out, Jungkook can forgive you, Yin, she thought to herself. It had been a month since their first meeting, and in that time, Yin and Jungkook had been spending more and more time together. Their evening or late afternoon coffee meetups had almost become a routine, something Yin always arranged for after her school hours ended. Jungkook always had a reason to invite Yin out, whether it was to get some fresh air, look for inspiration for his assignments, or simply to share stories about his day. And Yin, she always showed up, with a smile she couldn't hide and a heart that raced every time she saw Jungkook waiting for her at a cafe table with 2 cups of coffee. But that happiness was slowly becoming a weight on Yin's chest. The closer she got to Jungkook, the harder it became to hide who she really was. And yet, deep down, she knew she had already fallen too deeply. That night, after they had finished viewing a small art exhibition at the city gallery, Yin and Jungkook sat together on a park bench. The dark sky was dotted with stars, and the night breeze gently brushed through Yin's loose, flowing hair. Jungkook was talking about his plans for a summer internship when Yin suddenly interrupted him, her voice soft, yet trembling. "Jungkook." He turned to her, giving her his full attention. Yin took a deep breath, trying to calm the explosion in her chest. "I want to tell you something." "Of course, what is it?" Jungkook asked gently. It took a few seconds before Yin found the courage to speak. She looked into Jungkook's eyes deeply, with a forced kind of bravery. "I like you," Yin finally said, straightforward and unfiltered. "I really like you, not just because you're kind or because we see each other often, but I've liked you ever since the first time I saw you at Yuna's house." Jungkook went silent. His face was hard to read in the dim glow of the park lights. Yin bit her lip, bracing herself for rejection, or worse, a question that might unravel all her lies. But what happened next made her almost cry in relief. Jungkook smiled. He reached out and gently took Yin's hand in his. "I like you too, Yin." "Really?" Yin whispered, barely believing it. Jungkook nodded. "Yeah, I've never felt this kind of intensity with anyone before. I've hung out with girls, but only as friends. But with you, it's different. You make me feel at ease." That night, beneath the peaceful night sky, they officially became a couple. Yin smiled, but behind that happiness, she knew the fight wasn't over, because the lie was still there, and this love would be tested someday. They were officially dating. 2 months passed in a false happiness for Yin. Every day felt like a dream, sweet yet filled with pressure. They often went on dates, watching movies at the cinema, having dinner at Jungkook's favorite small restaurant, or simply sitting together at a cafe talking for hours. Jungkook was an incredible boyfriend, attentive, understanding, and always knew how to make Yin feel special. But every time he held her hand and said, "I love you, Yin," the guilt would crash into her like a tidal wave. Yet she was too scared to lose the only happiness she had secretly wished for all along. She thought, as long as she kept the secret tightly sealed, everything would be fine. Until that day came. The rain poured heavily. Yin arrived first at the cafe where they usually met. While waiting, she scrolled through her phone without really paying attention. A few minutes later, the door opened, and Jungkook walked in with hurried steps. But his face looked different this time, cold, tense. "Yin," he said shortly. Yin immediately stood, ready to greet him, but Jungkook stopped in front of her without a smile. "There's something I need to talk about," he said softly, but his tone was cutting. Yin's heart instantly froze. Jungkook looked into her eyes, deep and filled with pain. "I was just talking to my aunt, Yuna's mom. She told me about Yuna's school life, about her classmates, including you." Yin gasped. Of course, Yuna's mother wasn't someone they could expect to play along. Yuna would never ask her own mother to lie. "Jungkook, I don't need a long explanation." Jungkook cut her off quickly. "I just want to hear one thing. Is it true you're still in high school? Grade 11? Same year as Yuna? Even her classmate? Her seatmate?" Yin couldn't speak. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her eyes began to burn. In the end, all she could do was give a small, slow nod. That alone was enough. Jungkook let out a deep breath. He turned his face away, as if he needed a moment to process the truth. "So everything we've been through, everything you said, you pretended to be a university student?" Yin bit her lip. Her tears began to fall. "I didn't mean for the lie to go that far, Jungkook, but I didn't know what else to do. I just didn't want you to stay away." Jungkook looked at her again, this time with eyes filled with sadness. "But you lied. About your age. About who you are. And that's not a small thing for me, Yin." Silence fell. Yin lowered her head, tears soaking her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Jungkook. I was scared." "Scared of what, Yin?" Jungkook's voice remained calm but pierced like ice. "Scared that I wouldn't want to date you because of your age? Is that why you had to lie to me?" "Yes, Yuna told me you wouldn't date someone underage, someone who isn't in college yet." Yin raised her head, her face soaked in tears. "I liked you, Jungkook. I didn't want to lose that chance." Jungkook closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. There was deep pain and disappointment in his gaze. Yin, I might have accepted you if you had been honest from the start. I could have considered everything. He took a deep breath. But you lied about everything. You built our relationship on a lie. How am I supposed to trust you again? Jungkook, I'm truly sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I love you so much. Yin sobbed. Love isn't built on lies, Yin, Jungkook said, his voice now firm, yet filled with sorrow. I can't continue this. I can't be with someone who isn't honest with me. Yin's heart shattered into pieces. No, Jungkook, please don't break up with me. I'm begging you. I'm sorry, Yin, Jungkook said as he stood up from his seat. This is what's best for both of us. You need to learn that honesty matters, and I need to learn to be more careful moving forward. He turned and walked away, leaving Yin frozen in her seat, her sobs echoing through the now quiet cafe. She had lost everything. The rain was still pouring heavily outside the cafe. Its sound blended with Yin's quiet sobs that shook her shoulders. A few customers glanced her way, but Yin didn't care. Her world had just crumbled. The person she loved most, the one she tried to hold on to with small lies that eventually grew to big, had walked away from her. She remained seated there for almost an hour. Her eyes were swollen, her hands trembling, and her mind was filled with regret. Her phone kept lighting up with messages from Yuna. Yin, where are you? Did Jungkook ask to meet you? I had just finished showering, and when I stepped out, I was shocked to hear my mom talking to Jungkook about you. Yin, please reply. Are you okay? Finally, Yin reached for her phone and replied with a single short sentence. He knows everything, Yuna. We're over. Then, she stood up on weak knees and walked out of the cafe. The sky was still dark, and the rain showed no sign of stopping. Without an umbrella, she stepped into the downpour, as if wanting to dissolve into the coldness of the night. The next day, Yin didn't go to school. She locked herself in her room, telling her parents she wasn't feeling well. After coming home from school, Yuna came straight over, but Yin stayed silent, staring blankly out the window. Yin, Yuna spoke gently, you can't go on like this. I know you regret it, but you have to be strong. You still have me. Yin bit her lip. I ruined everything, Yuna. All because I couldn't be honest from the start. Jungkook must hate me now. He doesn't hate you, Yuna said quickly. He's just disappointed. But I'm sure he's hurting too, because he loved you. Yin's tears started falling again. What's the point of love if it only ends in pain? Yuna pulled her into a tight hug. Maybe it's that pain that will teach you what real love means. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Jungkook sat in his car parked in front of the campus building. The rain had begun to ease, but his mind was still in turmoil. Yin's face, with teary eyes and a trembling voice, kept echoing in his head. He opened his phone's gallery. The photos of them were still neatly saved, laughing in the park, posing in front of the cinema, selfies while eating ice cream. Yin's smile looked so genuine in every picture, but now all of it felt like a bitter dream. Was I too harsh? He muttered quietly, closing his eyes. But then he shook his head. No, she needs to learn, and I do too. But deep down in his heart, he knew, no matter how hard he tried to forget, Yin's name would never truly disappear from his heart. After that, time kept moving forward. They both became busy with their own lives. Yin refocused on her studies. She studied harder than ever, trying to distract herself from the heartbreak that hadn't fully healed. Though a smile slowly returned to her face, a scar still lingered deep in her heart, one she quietly carried alone. Meanwhile, Jungkook finished his final year of university amidst his packed schedule. After graduation, he returned to Bizen and began working at his family's company, preparing himself to take on the responsibilities as the heir. Years passed, and even though many new things came into his life, Yin's image still visited his memory from time to time, especially on lonely nights when he stood alone on the balcony of their large house, staring at the Bizen night sky. Meanwhile, 5 years had gone by. The passing of time had etched maturity into Park Yin's face. Now 22 years old, she had become a promising young interior designer, recently graduating with honors. She was now an important part of her father's property development company. Old wounds never truly disappear, but she had learned much from them. Honesty was a foundation, and Yin had grown into someone more cautious, but still sincere. That night, Yin attended the 30th anniversary celebration of her father's company. She wore an elegant dark blue evening gown, her hair neatly styled, and a professional smile graced her lips as she greeted the guests. Yin, this is Mr. Jian, CEO of Jian Corp, He's one of my biggest business partners, said Yin's father, introducing a distinguished-looking middle-aged man. Yin bowed respectfully. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Jian. Ah, Miss Park, your dad often talks about you, a very talented daughter, Mr. Jian praised with a smile. As it happens, my son is here too. Perhaps the two of you could get to know each other better. He'll be taking over the company one day. Mr. Jian waved toward the crowd, and Yin felt her heart stop as she saw the figure approaching. A tall man in a perfectly tailored suit that fit his athletic build, his black hair neatly combed, and an aura of charisma surrounding him. Those eyes, the same eyes that once looked at her with deep love, and then with heartbreaking disappointment. Jungkook. The Jungkook, who was once just a college student, was now a successful young executive. He greeted Yin's father politely before turning toward her. His smile faded slightly, replaced by a subtle expression of surprise. Jungkook, let me introduce you to Park Yin, Mr. Park's daughter, Mr. Jian said. Jungkook extended his hand, his eyes locked on Yin's. The tension between them was unmistakable. Pleasure to meet you, Miss Park Yin. His voice was still the same deep baritone, but now more mature. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Jian. Jungkook, Yin replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Her hand trembled slightly as it met his. Jungkook is a very dedicated man. You two should exchange contacts. There might be future projects you can work on together. Yes, our companies have collaborated many times, Jungkook's father added enthusiastically. Of course, Dad, Jungkook replied, his gaze still fixed on Yin. Soon, their fathers became absorbed in business talk, leaving Yin and Jungkook in an almost suffocating silence. You look very different, Yin, Jungkook said, breaking the silence. More mature. You too, Jungkook, Yin replied, biting her lower lip slightly. She realized she had called him by name too naturally. I mean, Mr. Jian. Jungkook. Jungkook gave a faint smile, one that didn't reach his eyes. Just Jungkook is fine. He took a breath. It's been a long time. Yes, 5 years, Yin said softly. They fell silent for a moment. I often think about what happened, Jungkook said, his gaze filled with regret. I'm sorry if I was too harsh with you back then. I was just too disappointed at the time. Yin looked at him. The pain from the past was still there, but now it was mixed with understanding. She had learned how heavy lies could be, and how valuable trust really was. I understand, Yin said, and I'm sorry too, for lying to you. I never meant to hurt you. I was just foolish and naive back then. Yin's voice trembled slightly. Damn it, she had tried so hard to keep her emotions in check. Jungkook watched Yin carefully, as if trying to read her heart. Have you been doing okay all this time? Jungkook finally broke the silence, his voice soft, almost a whisper. Yin turned, giving him a faint smile. I'm fine, busy with work as usual, she replied, though her voice wasn't convincing enough to erase the weariness in her eyes. Jungkook nodded slowly, then looked away briefly before meeting her gaze again. I often think about our past, Yin. Do you ever do the same? That question hit Yin like a sudden cold wind. She looked down, trying to hide her unease. I guess, the past is the past, Jungkook. But before Yin could take a step back to end the conversation, Jungkook reflexively held her wrist gently. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you like that, Jungkook said quickly as he released her. But please, don't shut me out like this. We can at least be friends, or business partners. Yin let out a soft sigh, then looked into Jungkook's eyes. It's not that simple, Jungkook. I still can't face you without remembering everything. Honestly, right now I feel ashamed when I think about the lie I told. Jungkook shook his head. You don't have to feel that way, Yin. I was angry and disappointed back then, but now I realize I wasn't mature enough to understand the situation wisely. I should have known you had your reasons for lying. But Yin also shook her head. Don't keep blaming yourself. It wasn't all your fault. I was the one who started it. I lied, and you actually had every right to be angry. I know that. And to be honest, I couldn't find peace myself. Every night, I was haunted by guilt because everything started with my lie. But I've learned from it. It became a very important life lesson for me. Just then, Jungkook's phone rang in his pocket. He glanced at the screen, then quickly pressed the red button to decline the call. But the quick motion allowed Yin to catch a glimpse of his phone wallpaper, a photo of the two of them from when they were still together. In the photo, they were smiling happily, sitting in a park. Yin paused for a few seconds before softly commenting, You still keep that photo? Jungkook looked slightly awkward, but didn't avoid the question. He nodded and gave a small shrug. I've never been able to truly forget you, Yin. I've tried, but I failed. Yin's heart was in chaos. Her chest felt tight, a mix of sadness, surprise, and something she wasn't ready to name. I haven't been able to forget you either, she said almost inaudibly, as if the words were too heavy to speak. Jungkook looked deeply into her eyes, his breathing slightly heavy. He looked down briefly, then bit his lower lip before finally speaking with a voice that almost trembled. I really missed you. The words were so soft, yet they shook Yin's entire heart. I thought I'd be okay. I thought time would make everything disappear, but it didn't. In fact, seeing you again, my feelings are even heavier than before. Yin fell silent. Not a single word came from her lips, but inside her chest, her heart was pounding wildly. Her emotions in turmoil, like all the memories she had buried deep, were suddenly breaking free. Jungkook lifted his face, looking into Yin's eyes with hope. Yin, I still love you. It was as if the world stopped spinning. Those words hit Yin hard, leaving her speechless, with wide eyes, shocked, touched, and confused, all her feelings crashing into one. Her heart weakened, because the truth was, she had never really stopped loving Jungkook either. And finally, with a soft voice, Yin confessed, I still love you too, Jungkook. Both of them went silent, disbelieving, not expecting those words to finally come out after all these years. Their eyes glistened, but neither of them cried. They just stared at each other, letting the silence speak louder than words. Until finally, Jungkook took Yin's hand and gently pulled her away from the ballroom that was still filled with party guests. Their steps were quick, but their hearts felt calm amidst the nervousness. They walked through a long hallway and out to the back garden of the building. Once they reached a quiet corner far from the crowd, without saying a word, Jungkook immediately hugged Yin tightly, as if afraid to lose her again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Yin, he whispered over and over near her ear, his voice trembling and hoarse, like someone who had held back too much longing and regret. Yin was shocked at first, her body stiff, but slowly, her hands rose, reaching his back and stroking it gently. She lowered her head, holding back tears. No, it wasn't your fault, Jungkook. It was mine. Their hug grew tighter. No more words were spoken, just warmth spreading from chest to chest. The longing they had held for so long finally melted away with that embrace. And it turned out, the love was still there in their hearts.